Welcome to the General's Gentleman.
Hey guys, welcome back to Ashes of the Singularity. Today I'm giving another video commentary. This was a match that I played last night, and now I'm having a look at the video and I'm going to be explaining my thoughts and giving some information about the game and the update in general to Ashes. So the first thing is an apology. I done goofed up this video. There's no game sounds, as I'm sure you can notice. What happened is I recorded the microphone rather than recording the game sounds. So there was like a little bit of clicking in the background you could hear. So that's a shame, but hopefully the music will keep it somewhat interesting, and the content of my commentary, of course. So we are playing on the new Canopus, that is the name of the map. There was a bunch of map updates in order to fix probably the most poorly designed maps in order to make them a lot more balanced, a lot more fun, a lot more competitive. This map in particular, the previous iteration of it didn't have the paths in between the peninsulas. It was just the single choke point into the center of the map. So it was pretty campy, and it was a pretty slow map. There wasn't really any variety to it. Whereas now there's a circular path around the map, so you actually have a lot of tactics, a lot of flanking opportunities, and in general it's actually a really good map now. We are playing on the upcoming balance changes. There is a balance beta where we're using it to test things, make some more adjustments, and just make sure that the changes are working as intended. Today I'm playing as Substrate, which is not normal for me. I generally play as PHC. My opponent, MarcBerrar, he's playing as the Substrate. So one thing that I'll mention as well is the balance update was unfortunately delayed and it wasn't included in the big 2.1 patch. And the reason why that is because with these balance changes, there was a few units and structures that had their requirements changed. So for example, the Punisher originally only required the Quantum Archive, and now it instead requires the Gateway, because rushing the Punisher was quite overpowered and quite cheesy. But the problem with changing requirements is the AI has to be updated as well, the code of the AI, because the way that the AI works, if they try to do something, but they can't do something, then it gets stuck. And changing the AI's code is a little bit tricky. It's something that I can't do personally, at least not yet. And so there's only 2 developers that can do it, one of which is on vacation, and the other guy I believe is at some game conference. So it was a shame, but hopefully we'll get this patch, the balance update out as soon as we can, because I think it's way more fun. It's way more competitive and strategically varied. A lot more, better balance too. Just in general, having a more balanced game is obviously a good thing. So, moving on to the game at hand, I'm spamming Reapers alongside the Capacitors, trying to get as many territory points as I can. This is a bit of a bold play here. I'm trying to get the Annihilator down. I really want to lock down this section of the map. I want to prevent mobility for him on that corner, because then I can lock that down. I've got a generator down there. I've got a triple radioactive node, and above that there's actually 4 metal deposits on that node. So it's very powerful. You can hold those central places. But he's actually rushed out some Hades. Those are the air bombers for PHC, and they're very strong versus buildings. So what he's doing is he's actually bombing a lot of my metal deposits, metal extractors rather. And that's quite annoying, because that's going to be slowing down my income. The other good target is to try and find some engineers, but it's a little bit harder because they don't hit moving targets too well. But it's going to force me to have to rebuild those. It's going to delay my economy. It's a good move. I should have scouted that. I was actually thinking about it, building a searcher, which is the scout plane from the assembly, and scouting to make sure he wasn't doing any funny business, but actually I didn't. So as a result, I get punished for it. I think it's definitely worth scouting. You don't want to do it super early on, because it costs you 120 metal, but say the 3-4 minute mark, if you can do it, it's going to give you some useful information just to make sure you're prepared. So as a result, I had to suddenly cancel a lot of my units' production and just start churning out the Sky Cleansers, which are the mobile anti-F frigates, as well as then also build a Dominator, which is the interceptors. I suppose it's a squad of Dominators. And it's funny because Dominator is the name of one of the best Command & Conquer 0 Hour players. So it's like, oh, I've got a Dominator. For me, I just think of this guy from the UK that's like, hey guys, welcome to 0 Hour. Trying to push out here into his base, trying to snipe some extractors down, but he had some units there to defend. I do have that Annihilator down, which I believe is now upgraded to a heavy Annihilator, so he definitely can't push through that. He's going to have to flush that out with the Artemis artillery. I also noticed that he had the Hades, and I built a Sky Blossom immediately. Sky Blossom is the air defense. Hades aren't very good versus units, but they are pretty strong versus buildings in general. So if the Annihilator was vulnerable, didn't have any anti-air support, then he'd get taken down pretty fast. So in that, my army, he actually has some drone defense. You can tell pretty easily because the drones, you can see them flying around. So they're pretty easy to spot. Yeah, there it is. A little bit late to respond, pulling them out. So that's going to be hard to push through. The drone defense is very strong. Drone defense, it was actually, it got a cost increase in this balanced beta. They were way too cheap for how strong they are. So a bit more expensive, but still very good. And they do require the gateway, which is a gateway is for Substrate. It's the orbital fabricator, and that's what it is for PHC. And also that was why he was able to use the Sentry, I believe it's called. He spawned some units down earlier. So I knew he had that. I could have predicted the drone, but didn't matter anyway. And so now I need to get some Destructors, which are the artillery units, to try and flush that out. The other option is go for Punishers, very strong bombers, good versus buildings. But they require the gateway now, so I'll have to go for that one first. But right now, I really want to lock down that middle south peninsula. Am I using that word wrong? Because I think it's only peninsula if it's not connected to the land anywhere else. So maybe it was previously peninsula, now it's just a strip of land. Yeah, I want to lock this down because again, it's very valuable there. Not only just deniability, but there's a lot of resources. So I'm getting multiple defenses. I'm getting another Annihilator at the north, another Sky Blossom, and ideally get an amplifier as well. It's kind of a risk-reward thing because when you build the amplifier on a node, and it boosts the production of all extractors by 50%. So you want to build that on the highest yield node, the one that has the most deposits, but then it may be too vulnerable, too exposed. So where it is there, it's going to give me the most resources in return, but it's also close to his base, so he could snipe that down. I already have one amplifier in my base, and I'm getting another one soon as well, but the more the better. It's important to get those up because they do give you a big boost. Something that I often fall behind in is getting the amplifiers up and running. They're not that expensive in terms of metal. It's mainly just the radioactives, which you can see I have a lot now. So I suppose I should have had more of them than what I actually have now. I'm certainly not playing this game perfectly, and you'll see more of that later. So he's locked down the south with a drone defense. He's locked down the middle with a drone defense. It's going to be really hard to push through. The thing is, though, is he doesn't have much territory. He's invested a lot in turtling up, so I actually have a lot more territory than him. At the moment, I don't have a lot of income because I don't have the north. I have the points, but not the deposits on them. But once I get those extractors built, then I'll have a pretty good income here. But even then, I have more than him because I have that middle strip still. So I have a couple of Destructors now. You can see them firing their plasma rain launcher, the pew-pew shard things in the air. Gonna be able to take that down eventually, but he actually has the repair drones as well. Oh, he did a little incursion there. Didn't cut off my supply line because I have the middle as well. Got one of my extractors down, but overall wasn't very useful. This is a pretty nasty push here because I have too many Destructors. Only a handful of Maulers, which are the anti-cruisers, which is what he has. He has several cruisers. I have a few Reapers though, and so that should be enough The Athenas, they have been nerfed a lot, especially versus frigates. The secondary damage was halved. But I actually overbuilt the Destructors. I shouldn't have built like 7 of them. I just queued them up and forgot about them. It's one of the things about this game is you have to be constantly monitoring your composition. You have to make sure you're adjusting it to what your opponent's doing, and countering your opponent as best as you can. So right now I'm going for some Punishers. Punishers are the flying bombers that you have. You can see 2 of them there. I don't want to reveal them just yet. I want to wait until I have more, because once I reveal them, he's going to start getting a lot more anti-air. So I want to get a bit more of a nasty surprise when he sees them, because they're very good versus buildings, they're very good versus cruisers. They're just strong in general and probably in need of a bit of a nerf, but I haven't done that yet. So he is pushing through though. I got to be careful here, because while the south of the map, that little strip, has a lot of defenses, my base doesn't. So if he pushes through, I'm a little bit vulnerable, especially because I'm actually floating a lot of resources. Because I swapped my production to the Punishers, it meant that I wasn't actually spending my metal. Not only are Punishers quite cheap metal-wise, but also they have a very long build time. So they're an inefficient way of spending metal. So now, as a result, I'm panicking and I'm throwing down a whole bunch of assemblies. I'm upgrading some defense. I just want to spend this cash. Floating resources is the worst thing you can do in pretty much any RTS game, and Ashes is certainly no exception. But now I'm pushing through with 4 Punishers. I can take out these defenses. He spawns another incursion, but not a big deal. I do want to focus the repair bay first, the one on the left, because that's going to be repairing the nearby structures. It's actually well defended. He's got a sentinel turret, which is very good versus cruisers, the drone bay, and the repair bay, but he actually lacked anti-air, so he got caught off guard. Didn't have any scouting, didn't see my Punishers, and you should have some either air defense or some interceptors just preemptively, especially against Substrate, because of how good Punishers are. That's going to open up his base. I can definitely now follow this up with an attack. I think I have some maulers at the bottom. Though I did lose some extractors there to the Artemis. Now, one thing I want to talk about is see how those metal deposits, which have now been destroyed, when I zoom out a bit more, you'll see it. The icon for them is now a grey circle. It used to be the same as your player color. And so that was really bad, because it meant that if you were to lose an extractor, you wouldn't actually notice it, and you would not rebuild it until several minutes later. So this is one of the things that I did for my design consultancy thing, which when I first started, is critiquing a lot of the accessibility to make it a bit more intuitive for newer players. And so it's really cool for me seeing these changes now actually implemented. This was one of the many changes in the 2.1 patch. So now it's easier to manage and rebuild your destroyed extractors. So that's kind of my general role in Ashes, is just make the game better. Not only in terms of new maps, balance updates, new content, like I'm going to be working on the naval expansion, but just generally making the game easier, more intuitive, easier for new players to get into. So now I'm going to be queuing some maulers down the south. I'm going to be pushing through the middle with a lot of destructors. I need to focus the repair bay down, which I do swap targeting now, but his defenses should crumble here. It doesn't have a lot of army by the looks of it. I looked at his base earlier. He actually had, it was about 10 quantum archives, which is probably a bit too much this early on. What's that? 6, 9? Oh, no, there's an 8 quantum relays. I think I have like 3 or 4 of those. So definitely very tech heavy. So it's a long-term investment. He gets more upgrades. He can use more abilities, but it will detract some of his units. So I think that was his problem there, is he invested a bit too rapidly in those quantum archives. He has a lot of air defense as well. Well, not where it mattered though. So yeah, I was able to just outmass him. He didn't have the north. He didn't expand. Look where I was. I have the entire top right. I have the south. He only just now started expanding upwards. So he definitely should have expanded earlier. The more territory you get, the more income you get. So Ashes by nature is a pretty aggressive game. Every active game at least, you need to constantly be taking more territory. and denying it to your opponent. That's what I tried to do. Not that I really had to deny him territory because he didn't try too much, but at least I prevented him from pushing out by getting the south, having a pretty aggressive amount of units. What more can I say? He's going to call GG now any moment. I think he already has. Yeah, that's it. GG. It's a shame I didn't look through the graphs, because I remember some of the other games we've played is like my military spending in general is a lot higher than other people that I verse, but then like often my tech income is lower, but often it doesn't matter. But sometimes it does. You know, if the game really drags out and I fall behind in quantum relays and my upgrades fall behind, and then you can lose there. So you have to really decide carefully about the risk reward of how much do I tech, how much do I go for economy, how much defenses do I build. Just pretty general RTS stuff. You have to kind of do some scouting, make sure you think about these decisions, and yeah, not get overwhelmed. So yeah, that's it. Hopefully you found this video interesting. Again, my apologies for the lack of game sounds. I know it can be a bit boring without game sounds. I'll do more of these videos for sure, because I'm working for Ashes, so you can definitely expect some more content down the line. I'm looking forward to getting the replays as well. The replays should come in soon. They've also been delayed because there was issues with the lead programmer was sick and just had a few months off. Stardock is kind of an indie company, so they are a bit prone to delays because with less staff to go around, you don't have... It's not as absorbed as much when someone's unavailable or whatever. So yeah, if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe for more RTS content. I do a whole bunch of content for RTS games, Company of Heroes, Zero Hour, Dawn of War, all that good stuff. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.